Good afternoon and welcome to the 218th episode of the Georgia Farm Bureau Georgia Prep Sports Drive for the GHSA State Title. I've got two guests today, and I think it's going to be really interesting what they're able to do this season. There is a ton of potential. First one's going to be Stockbridge head coach Thomas Clark. I thought Stockbridge was one of the most talented teams in 4A last year. They ended up losing to the eventual state champion Benedictine Cadets in the quarterfinals, and they just have so much talent returning. We'll have the rankings out soon for the preseason, and I'm considering Stockbridge in that top three, so I'm excited to see what Coach Clark has to say. And then the next guest is going to be Michael Woolridge, and he's taking over at Pebblebrook. So he's going from 2A, where he was at a great South Atlanta program, to 7A football. And as I said, the potential is tremendous with Pebblebrook. They might be the fastest team in the state next year. In the Cobb County Championships recently, they had three guys in the top five in the 100-meter dash, including Dwight Phillips. He clocked the fastest time in the entire country with a 10.26. And so they have three guys that are all under 10.74. And the good news is they're only juniors and sophomores. And Pebblebrook's a team that there was a lot of news around them because 2 seasons ago, they cracked the top 10 in the poll for the first time in a long time. It had been well over a decade. They ended up finishing, I believe, 9-2. They beat a really good Parkview team in the first round and then fell to Travis Hunter, Collins Hill, and that dominant team in the second round. So, yeah, how will Pebblebrook do in 7A this year? It'll be really interesting. And they've got a lot of big-time players that are making they're shifting kind of the standings for the class of 2024, class of 2025, rising up the ranks. And then what I've also noticed, Pebblebrook's had a lot of guys that have gone to walk on at a program, or maybe they went the JUCO route or went D2, and they're starting immediately. We know how talented Pebblebrook is across the board athletically, but they're really producing some great athletes, so we'll get into that. But let's go over some of the recent news in the spring scene. I was down in Florida last week, so I missed some of it, but there were some really intriguing results on the lacrosse side. And so West Forsyth made history a couple weeks ago when they beat Lambert for the first time in school history. It was a huge win. They're the only team that put up double-digit goals on Lambert. They were undefeated at the time. Well, then they faced Buford in their next contest. That was also a region game. As Najee pointed out, Buford's in 7A now. They're occupying that same region. So you got West Forsyth, Lambert, and Buford in there. It'll be a race to see who gets the top seed. So they get the win over Lambert, then fall to Buford 13-10. And then Buford falls to Lambert, I believe, 10-3 or 11-3. Lambert held that Buford team to just 3 goals. So Lambert rebounded from the West Forsyth loss. Huge win over Buford. West Forsyth rebounded from the Buford loss. 16-4 win over a Denmark team that was 10-3 at the time. So that region right there, 7A playoffs will be stacked, but I think they have a chance to sweep their way through the first round, and we very easily could see a rematch. But I think it also just shows that in the sport of lacrosse, it really is about the style of play and the matchups. West Forsyth's aggressive offense, it was a tough matchup for Lambert, but then not necessarily against Buford and vice versa. So then I want to talk also on the baseball front. I had pointed out how Parkview had been the team that hadn't lost in the state, probably the most decorated baseball team. They were rising in the national rankings as well. And over spring break, they picked up some wins over some Florida teams. They'll play IMG Academy tonight, but then they also suffered their first loss of the entire season on March 30th to Marist. That was 4-0. They rebounded a 10-0 win over Sarasota, 3-1 win over Venice. Parkview, though, I think what's going to be tough once you get to the playoffs, that was their first in-state loss. Can you beat them 2 times in 3 games? Their rotation is so deep. They had a sophomore that pitched a perfect game this season. And he's not even their full-time starter. He's just in that rotation because they have so much talent. So I still have Parkview as my number 1, but I think this is the big game tonight. IMG Academy is 17-0, one of the top teams in the entire country. Parkview gets that win, they will be right in that national conversation. And currently, let's look at the national poll. Okay, so Tift County was at number 1 to start this week. And I think this just goes to be said. I think the spring break schedule, it hurts some of the momentum with these teams. You're out of school. The schedule's a little different. And so Tift County, they suffered their first loss in a long time. They were riding a huge win streak, and that was to Houston County last night, 10-4. So now they're 20-3. Houston County is 20-4. Reason I brought up Tift County, though, I had this pulled up a second ago. So who has been dominating baseball in the higher classifications? It's obviously been the Atlanta schools. We have not seen a South Georgia team win a baseball state title in who knows how long. Let's see. I've got it in front of me right now. From 2022 all the way back to 2004. In the highest classification, we have never seen it. No South Georgia team has gotten past that Atlanta gauntlet. As for Class 6A, the last, 6 years, it's been Pope, Houston County, and Heritage Conyers. That's in Rockdale. No South Georgia teams. I'm going to see how far back this goes. Because that is a chance to kind of change the landscape if one of these Lowndes is having a great season, Colquitt is, Valdosta is. But it's just so tough because not only you're going to have to deal with Parkview, it's going to be 4 rounds, 5 rounds of just nationally ranked powerhouses that have all won state titles. Okay, so Colquitt County in 2003, Colquitt County in 97, and Coffee in 83. So the last 40 years, we've had 3 South Georgia teams win. In 6A, we had Jones County in 89. And that's it for 6A. 5A, that's Columbus, Buford. So yeah, really interesting right there. Tift County is currently towards the top of that in terms of the national rankings and the success they had, but I think it's a big opportunity for them against Houston County tonight, rebound from that loss and try to make history this season. All right, let's look at some of the recruiting news in football. All right, Our boy Kyle Vaca continues to pick up offers. West Kentucky's the latest one. He has a lot of choices, and we haven't even seen what he's going to do at Kell this season. So he just keeps racking them up. And he's been really busy with all these camps. I'm excited personally just to see all the talent that's going to be at this year's Corky Kell 7-on-7 at Georgia Tech. That is going to be outstanding. We have more teams than ever. It's going to be 3 days, and that is a good opportunity to really get a chance to look at the quarterbacks that are really standing up as the leaders. How accurate are they? And a lot of these guys have been in 7-on-7 most of the summer, so they come in, and it's just a good opportunity because, as I mentioned earlier, normal 7-on-7s, it's an all-star setting. This is truly a practice, and a guy like Kyle that's going to be at a new team, he can really show what he can do in this setting, showcase his speed, and then possibly earn a bigger role. So let's move on to the coaching news real quick, because Coach Woolridge is one of the more recently hired ones. I talked about the jump from 2A to 7A. It's really exciting. He was at South Atlanta for 2 seasons, racked up, I think, a 22-3 record. They sent 6 guys to D1 last year. Kawan Brown, the running back, he's going to Louisville. He flipped from Purdue to go to Louisville. You could even say he was underrated, just what he did all throughout his varsity career. One of the premier backs. He did not have an off game. Tay Seymour is absolutely balling out. He's going to Georgia Tech. He had his first track meet probably 2 weeks ago, and he set, it was in the 200 meter, he ran a 21.76, and that's a top 10 time nationally this season. Goes out there his first meet and basically runs one of the fastest times in the country. So Coach Woolridge leaves South Atlanta after just an incredible run. They were undefeated during the regular season last year, ended up falling to eventual state champion Thompson in a shootout. They scored more points against Thompson than any other team did last year. Thompson, of course, beat Fitzgerald in the state championship game. So this is a big move for him. I know just with all the success he had at South Atlanta, how determined they were to basically go championship or bust with all that talent. It's a new opportunity for him, but for sure, that senior class at South Atlanta was unbelievable. So among the other big-time coaching changes, South Atlanta's one I've put up there, but here's some of the other big ones. Sandy Creek, defending champions. Brett Garvin's gone. We interviewed Darius Smiley last week. He's taken over that program. Alatoona has a new head coach. That was Gary Varner for many years. He led them to a state championship, veteran coach, and then he was battling cancer last season, had to coach a lot of the season from the press box, and then they found their new guy. Burke County, Eric Parker, one of the all-time winningest coach in the state. He had some health issues last year. I think he actually had a heart attack or cardiac event during midway through the season when Burke County was just rolling. They had to adapt to that. He eventually returned and then retired after the season. Jefferson County's J.B. Arnold. That's a big-time program in the lower classes that always seems to make the playoffs. Statesboro's Jeff Kaiser. That's a huge vacancy. And then Darlington's Tommy Atha. I think Darlington is a program that's been knocking on the door. They usually dominate their region, make deep runs in the playoffs, and come really close. So who is going to step up for Darlington? And then, of course, Peach County with Chad Campbell. Led Peach County to so many state titles. They've fallen short in some heartbreakers. They've played up as a 3A school, just like the Cedar Groves, Sandy Creeks, had a ton of success against those programs. And then he left to go to a GIA school in Perry, and of course, Coach Westbrook from Warner Robins is taking over Peach County. He's brought in some really experienced coordinators to help him. But let me go to this year. He's a huge fan of Pinkston, who played for the Philadelphia Eagles as a receiver. So as of right now, there are still, I think at my last count, about 16 openings on the coaching front. Those will obviously have to be filled very soon. Let's see real quick. Okay, some soccer news. The Lambert boys, they've been riding a 9-game win streak, and the soccer playoffs are right around the corner. I believe they start up a week from today, April 12th. And yeah, that's still a 9-game win streak. They're 15-1-1. Their only loss was to Denmark, another outstanding program that's a region opponent. That was a game decided in PKs in overtime. They also had a tie. They've been all over the country during these spring break months. They played Station Camp in Tennessee. They won 2-1. Had another out-of-state game on Saturday against Collierville in the Southern Coast Cup. 1-0 win. They beat Christian Brothers from Memphis 2-0. And they have outscored their opponents 64-12. They are not allowing a lot of goals, that's for sure. 17 games, just 12 goals allowed. And that was their season finale. So they're going to be playing Wheeler in the first round. Let's see what other big first-round matchups there are. And they are ranked number 1, I believe, according to our latest polls. I need to pull that up real quick. Okay, so yeah, the soccer rankings will actually come out today, but Lambert number 1, South Forsyth number 2, you got Hillgrove 3, Collins Hill 4. In 6A, the Laster boys are number 1, Lanier is number 2. 5A is going to be ridiculous. You got McIntosh number 1, Dalton number 2, two of the better programs in the country. Class 4A. Johnson Gainesville is number 1. They had a great showing against Dalton. Probably the 2 best teams in the state squared off earlier this year. Huge atmosphere. But you also have Westminster in 4A, the newcomer. And they've obviously had a ton of soccer success. 3A, Columbus is number 1. Oconee County number 2. And then Kawula Creek, a newer school that has really been ascending with all their athletics. They made their first ever playoff appearance this season in football, and I've just seen it across the board. They are really playing well, and they went from 4A down to 3A. So that would be a tough playoff bracket for sure, but, I mean, they're up there at number 3 in the poll. And so we will see what happens with that. Saw another funny story that I just have to bring up, that the Lowndes superintendent had to repay the county $2,800 because he was going outside by the bus turnaround and filling up his own truck with gas for about a year. And he got caught on video. They did not fire him. He paid it back. All is square, but I don't know. I just thought that was hilarious. Just couldn't imagine, like, you're teaching at a school and you see it's only school buses that are filling up there, and you just pull up your personal vehicle, just load up on the gas. And apparently he was also filling up cans, because it wasn't enough just to fill up the car. He had to fill up the cans as well. So that was funny. I don't see that too often, but that was a news story I enjoyed. All right. I guess I'll also comment on the thing everyone's talking about. Najee and I talked about it yesterday on Underrated and Overlooked, and that was just the Final Four in the girls' tournament. And obviously what happened at the end of the game, the taunting or whatever. But doesn't it just feel different? There's never been this much buzz around the women's basketball tournament. I mean, no one is talking about what happened in the boys' game. I think it broke the all-time record for ratings. Most of the people I talked to were more excited about that matchup than the boys one. UConn ended up finishing the tournament, I think, with a 20-point average margin of victory. So that's a really big deal. And I think that attention is not going to go away. Next season is going to be incredible. And you just haven't seen that. There's been great players on the girls' side, but none as exciting, none have captured the attention and just the style of play and the flashiness, the energy. I think it was a really important year that has brought a ton of excitement to the game. And just think about this year's GHSA State Championships, how incredible the girls' tournament was. You have Crystal Henderson leading the Kell Longhorns, an incredible run. Class 6A on the girls' side was just so star-studded. And then River Ridge puts on an incredible performance, one of the best shooting teams in the state. They make history this year, just coming through a ridiculous gauntlet. There were 4 defending champs in the 6A field this year. In 7A, the Brookwood Norcross championship game. I mean, the girls' games were so outstanding, and just to see this trend, once people kind of get settled in and get their points across per se, I think that interest is here to stay. I really do, and I'm excited, honestly, for next year, which is something that I feel like other people share, and we haven't seen that before. It's like there hasn't been an overarching storyline, star power, drama, if you want to say, and it really felt like, I mean, I remember watching just like a NBA game where there's 2 stars going at it. Who's having the better performance? The one that's scoring 35, 40 points, or the double-double machine? I really think it's important, and it will be great. And obviously a lot of these outstanding players we've seen in the state of Georgia this year will be represented in the tournament for years to come. So just shout out to the NCAA women's tournament this year. It was a lot of fun to watch, great games, and I think next year is just going to be another huge step. This is unprecedented. It's never had this much excitement around it, so I think it is a good thing. And you just have to enjoy it. That's what sports are all about. So, yeah, we'll go ahead, though, and take a quick break, and I'll try to connect with Coach Clark on the other side. Let's thank our sponsors, Georgia Farm Bureau.
Our mission has always been to support Georgia farmers. That's why we created Georgia Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, providing financial protection that farmers needed. While this remains the same today, we've grown to protect all Georgians through home, auto, and life insurance. From the very beginning and into the future, we stand for every Georgia community.
We are a Farm Bureau.
All right, welcome back. So momentarily, we will be joined by Thomas Clark, Stockbridge's head coach. Let me go over the final rankings in 4A last year before we get him on. I think it will be a pretty wide open opportunity for all the 4A teams this year. Obviously, Benedictine finished first, Cedartown number 2, one of the best championship games I've ever seen. And 4A, I pointed it out of all the classifications last year, that felt like the old school one. All the teams that made it deep were kind of run-oriented offenses, really physical, great defense across the board. You had North Oconee, a team that I thought could have won a state title last year. They went 13-1, made the semifinals with an undefeated record for the first time ever. They're going to be outstanding. You have a troop team with Teo Todd, a 4-year starter coming back next year. They were 12-2. They're going to be dangerous. Wayne County, they went from, I think, a 1-9 record, and now with Coach Shaw, 10-3 last year, one of the best running teams in the state. Perry, with Coach Smith, they're always tremendous. They were 10-2 last year. Stockbridge, 10-3. Burke County, another great team. They'll have a new coach, of course, but a real powerhouse. And then you have Whitewater in that region with LaGrange, Stars Mill, a 7-3 team that missed out on the playoffs. 4A is going to be so exciting. And I know just that first year back in 4A with Stockbridge, the success they had last year, they have to be feeling really good coming into this season. They opened up the year with a 13-0 win over Southwest DeKalb. Their other 2 non-region games, Colquitt County and Doherty. Colquitt, 7A powerhouse. They were number 3 in the state at the time. And then Doherty ended up making a huge run this season in 3A, and that was a 33-30 loss. After that game, Stockbridge won 9 straight in dominant fashion. As I mentioned, closest game over the period of that stretch was 28-14 in the first round of the playoffs. They dominated Walnut Grove in the second round and then faced off with Benedictine, and that game got away with them from them in the second half, 34-14, but they were up in that one. So they have so much talent returning, a big opportunity. They're the reigning region champs, and I am excited to see what they do. And then Southwest DeKalb, they beat them early. That was a 13-0 game. But Southwest DeKalb, this is another 4A team. They were really solid last year, and I know they're ready to come back with a vengeance in a sense. They lost. These are the region losses: 26-21 to Miller Grove, 22-21 to Hayville Charter, lost on a 2-point conversion, and then another 2-point loss to Holy Innocents. All their losses were close. I thought they were a great team also. But let's welcome on Coach Clark. Hey, Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. It's going great. Thank you for having me on today.
Oh, you bet. So, I mean, I was talking about the opportunity I think you guys have this year in 4A. Last year, you probably played a lot of those teams for the first time, but you guys dominated the region, had so much momentum going, played Benedictine really well. I mean, what did you guys learn last season, and how excited are you just for 2023 and the path ahead?
Well, we're excited about Ridge. It was a great year for us. We were able to get back to making that deep run. For a lot of guys that may not know, I've been at Stockbridge. That was my 15th year last year, and we made a lot of deep runs in the, starting in the around 2012, 2013, all the way up to 2018. So me, taking over as head coach in my second year to get us back in the third round, we're excited. But at the same time, we're hungry, and we see now we got an opportunity to win a state championship. It was a learning experience for us last year. A lot of those guys on the team, last time Stockbridge made a deep run, they were in the fourth, fifth grade, maybe sixth grade, but for older guys. But to get them back there, they saw, obviously through hard work, what it takes to get that experience now. That's what we're going to, we're going to learn from it. Obviously, lost a better team, really good team, and we preach discipline, but we really learned what discipline was. They were a good team. They made some plays, but they kind of took advantage of some of the mistakes we made in that second half, and mainly the fourth quarter too. Is when they pulled. So as a team, we're going to learn from that, and we're going to understand what it takes to grow and get better to have an opportunity to win it all next year.
Yep, and I was talking about, I thought 4A overall, there were so many teams with outstanding defenses. I also thought there are just a lot of offenses that are old school. They run the ball extremely well. Your Cedar Towns, Benedictines, Wayne County, Holy Innocents, what they were able to do. But then I was looking at your roster. It looks like you guys have a really talented group up front with your offensive line returning. You probably had a bunch of underclassmen last year. Talk a little bit about what their importance is going to be this season.
Well, they're having I was an offensive line coach by nature, and so it's really, in my opinion, still the game still won up front in the trenches. And the good thing for us is we lost one offensive lineman, Robert Wright. He was an all-state player. He signed and played college ball at Georgia Southern. But other than that, we got everybody else back on the offensive line, and then the defensive line, we got everybody else. So just having them one more year, having a great year like we had, gaining that experience, and then having those guys in the weight room getting bigger and stronger, that's going to be really important for us. I feel like that's going to give us an advantage against some of our opponents, having all those guys back with that experience, because they did a great job last year. So, we're looking to tweak a few things and, get better, grow off of what we did last year with those guys.
For sure. So you said you were returning pretty much everyone on both sides of scrimmage, offensive and defensive line.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we lost our tackle. The offensive tackle. That's it. You got everybody else back.
Okay, and then, gosh, your defensive line, that pass rush, they produced a ton of sacks last year. You got Cameron Reese, KB Green, Dylan Manuel, all double-digit sacks. I thought in particular, though, Cameron Reese really came on strong for you guys. He had 4 sacks in that Benedictine game. I've seen a ton of people say this guy has a chance to be one of the best pass rushers in the state this upcoming season. What kind of growth have you seen from him? What's his potential in 2023?
Yeah, Cameron, his sophomore year, he had 14 and a half sacks. I think this year, his junior year, I think he had maybe 15, if I'm not mistaken. But, we're looking with him, he's got on a meal plan about 10 pounds between the end of last year. So he's doing a good job of really seeing the potential that he has. And, he's brought into the weight room here. And now that middle, he's put some good size. So we're still looking for him to come off the edge and be explosive. And he's starting to, he's picked up a few offers, and he'll have more by the end of spring ball. So I think he's really, I think really last season and he understands the potential that he has and the ability to be able to, help us team wise, by obviously getting a lot of sacks and getting to the quarterback and getting pressure, get our defense, help us get our defense off the field. So he's going to be another, he's going to have a great year, and he's going to be a standout player for us next year.
100%. I think just in practice with your experience on offense and defense with the offensive line, they're only going to make each other better. I think that's kind of the ideal scenario. You don't really have one side of the ball is younger. You're trying to work those guys, and they're going to be getting after it. Talk a little bit about your quarterback, though. I think it's Kobe Tompkins. I think I saw he got a Mercer offer earlier. Just what have you seen from him just heading into his senior year?
He's working. Kobe's always been a hard worker. He's been starting for us since his sophomore year, so he'll be a 3-year starter for us. Just his, thing impressed me most about him. He's got great football IQ and just his work ethic. He's training. He's working a couple different trainers in the offseason, and he's in our weight room hard. The other day, he just squatted 450. So he's all in. We're excited about having him back. I call him general, so he can work for us. Tough kid too. We didn't run him a lot last year. He has really good athletic ability, and we're gonna open him up and let him do his thing a little more this year, and let him get some carries as well as throwing the football. But he's working his tail off, and he's the leader of that offense. He holds those guys together. He does a great job of that.
Yeah, and I think with your offensive line and then this stable of running backs you guys racked up a ton of rushing scores last year. Talk about that committee a little bit. You got Jordan Mack, Jaden Duke Scott. They're coming off a big-time season, so just how talented is that group going to be this season?
Last year, and Jaden got hurt. We didn't have him for most of the season. Jaden's probably the most talented out of those guys. He has 30-plus, colleges, but he's probably the most talented guy. Very, very extremely hard runner, great vision. He's a cut guy. He also has speed. State and 100 meter ran 10.8 last track season, but he got hurt. It was a padded camp. He got hurt at that, so we didn't have. But one thing we learned is we had 3 really good backs last year, other than him. That was DeAndre Stone, who we lost to graduation last year, and then we got Jordan Mack, who stepped up, and Edward Minor, who was a freshman that stepped up, and we really found out what those guys were about. I think Jordan had around 900 rushing yards. Edward Minor had around 650, and then DeAndre Stone had around 700 yards. So we had 3 backs, that had combination yards for us. So it was probably the strength along the offensive line last year, just having all those backs and having that. So they're going to grow both those guys in the weight room and getting bigger, faster, stronger as well. So we're looking to add, find a way to get them on the field at the same time with Jaden too. So we're going to get creative offensively in terms of doing that.
Yeah, I think he played 5 games, almost had 1,000 yards rushing. Obviously, it was a huge boost once he returned. I want to talk a little bit just defensively. You guys did a really good job against the region, all season long, but just limiting the points. You're obviously physical up front. Is one of the goals this year, though, it's a goal every year, but just to win that turnover margin, produce more turnovers defensively. Those are the game-changing plays.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, we want to always win the turnover battle. To me, we want to eliminate our mistakes, and then defensively, don't give up anything behind you, and just keep everything in front of you. And then we want to tackle well. We want to keep getting better at team tackling, and also, just to the football. We run a 4-2-5. And we really try to keep it. We try to keep it simple as possible on defense, so guys can recognize and play fast and get to the football. and they do a great job. We do a lot of pursuit, tackling, and even competition. We do a competition day on Tuesdays where we go against the offense, and it kind of helps our defense. We put our defense, on those days, on those Tuesday practices. Sometimes we'll put our defense in a bind. We'll put the ball 3-yard line. They got to get a goal line stop. So just building that competition up amongst them and getting those guys playing hard and getting to the ball, man, that's what it's about with Stockbridge defense. And we're going to strike you when we get there, as well. So, I was really excited about our defense played last season. The team pulled away. They really, they changed some things as far as what Benedictine game plan, and sometimes, that's what you look for. When you take away their best players and things do well, you're doing a pretty good job defensively. We just kind of, we gave up some points late, just because, we lost the field position battle. But I was extremely happy with our defense play in that season.
Yep, and I know you guys had that big defensive touchdown in that Benedictine game also. Real quick, though, your Mike linebacker, Jeffrey Smoot, he led the team in tackles last season. He's returning to that role. What can we see from him this season?
Well, he's training too. He's playing out a little bit, and he's getting faster. So you're going to see the same. It's just he's going to get there a little quicker, a little step quicker, and he's going to be, a little stronger. And so he's going to be the leader. He gets the front seven line up right, and he's going to do. He's going to be the same player he was last year. He's just going to be a little bit faster, a little. So we're excited about having him back. And he was an outstanding player for us last year. I mean, a lot of tackles get to football. So.
Yep, you guys had 100 tackles for loss as a team. I really like your chances in 4A this year. You guys are coming off a great 10-3 year. You mentioned kind of that stretch before when everyone was, I believe, in fourth grade, all those consecutive runs to the semis and quarterfinals. So you guys just building off that. I mean, anyone else you want to give a shout out to that has really been stepping up, getting faster, stronger, that you think is going to have a breakout season?
But we got a few guys our name. I know we kind of talked about Kobe, so I think this year he's going to really get the chance to not only show the type of leader he is, a quarterback, but he's going to get to show what type of arm he's got as well.
All right, looks like Coach Woolridge hopped on. Well, Coach Clark, thank you so much. I'll wrap up some of what he said on the other side, but we'll go ahead and bring in Coach Woolridge if he's ready. Okay, he's not. But yeah, a couple quick takeaways. I mean, it's all the return in talent they have, the size up front, how everyone's been getting stronger. I mean, they must have started 17 underclassmen last year. I talked about the quarterback, Colby Tompkins, 3-year starter. He's experienced. He's seen what the state of Georgia looks like. He's ready to lead. And then offensively, they didn't turn the ball over much at all. And then defensively, he said, keep it simple. They've got the size up front. They got their middle linebacker returning, the leading tackler, and then a lot of guys that can get downfield quickly. 100 tackles for loss as a team last year is outstanding, and 58 team sacks. So they're going to get after it defensively. I think they have a great opportunity to take 4A next year. Do we have Coach Woolridge? I'm going to text him real quick. Okay. So it looks like we're trying right now. We'll go ahead and take a quick break. Thank our sponsor, Georgia Farm Bureau.
Our mission has always been to support Georgia farmers. That's why we created Georgia Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, providing financial protection that farmers needed, auto and life insurance. From the very beginning and into the future, we stand for every Georgia community.
We are our Farm Bureau.
All right, welcome back. And yeah, Stockbridge, Coach Clark's first year as head coach, 2021. They're still in 5A. They went 5-5 last year, 10-3. So they're right back at that mark where they're making those deep runs. But let's go ahead. Oh, yeah, bring them on real quick. Hey, Coach. Sorry, we got disconnected. I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on. Who are you guys going to be scrimmaging against this spring and in the summer?
Oh yeah, we're going in. We're going to scrimmage Newton on May 19th.
Okay. All right. So we got them. We'll try to get Coach Woolridge on, but I believe he said they're scrimmaging Newton. That would be a really interesting matchup right there. I think Newton has a chance in that region with Grayson, Brookwood, Parkview, South Gwinnett, Archer. They beat Parkview last year. They played everyone extremely well. They have so much talent, and they play well at home. They'll have a new head coach, and that'll be a good test for them. Stockbridge, as we mentioned, they're going to be returning the heart and soul of that team, which is the offensive and defensive line that, as Coach Clark said, he still believes that's where the game is won, and it is. Anyone that watched that state championship game in 4A last year knows that Benedictine would not have won that game if not for the defensive line getting that goal line stand. So I think we'll see the same sort of thing in 4A next year. There's going to be a ton of physical running teams. He mentioned his quarterback, Colby Tompkins. He's squatting 450 senior year. You got your big offensive line. You got Jalen Duke Scott back at running back. He missed, I think, 8 games last year. He'll be ready to go. I think we're going to see Colby Tompkins run the ball even more this year and give them another playmaker. All right, so we got Coach Clark. All right, so you said you were scrimmaging Newton, and then who was the other one?
Oh, in the fall we'll play Douglas County in the inner city classic. But I'm sorry, the scrimmage will be Lovejoy before the inner city classic. So we'll play Lovejoy in the fall scrimmage.
Gotcha. All right, well, thank you so much for coming on. I'll let you go, but best of luck this offseason, and we are definitely ready for 2023 to kick off. I think it's going to be a big year.
All right, thank you. Thank you again for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yep, you bet. All right, go Tigers. All right, so we'll see if we can get Coach Woolridge on. Sending me a question mark. All right, one sec. Hopefully we can get him on. But yeah, Colby Tompkins is getting a lot of attention. Picked up that Mercer offer recently. Okay, said he's on his computer. You seen him?
Still says call Thomas Clark. Might have to try his phone. What's the time of your connection?
Okay, we'll try one more time. But yeah, the theme with Pebblebrook this year is going to be their speed. Dwight Phillips, a 10.26. He's been offered by, I think, Georgia. He might have actually committed there. Let me see. Yep, and he is the defending state champ. He won it as a sophomore in the 100-meter. In every meet this year, he's continued to break his own records, and right now is pacing the entire nation. He's a 4-star, plays running back, can do it all. He's an athlete, and he will definitely be one of the more exciting players think the big question is all that speed. Who is going to be returning kicks this year for Pebblebrook? And every coach is going to have to game plan for that for sure. Hey, coach, sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. So just right off the bat, I mean, how's it feel to be a Falcon?
It feels great. Got a plethora of talent at the school, and you got a lot of pieces in play. Actually, they're building a $44 million athletic new facility. It's a lot of good things going on. Performing arts studio is just it's everything a coach could wish for, and we have the resources. Now it's just time to put them in motion.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we saw how much noise Pebblebrook was making during basketball season. Right now, I mean, the track and field team is so loaded. Is that still Coach Dossie leading that group?
Yes, Coach Dawson, Coach Smith, they do a good job with the group. Also, Coach Smith acts as our conditioning strength coordinator. And, we have a strong 4x1 team, and 3 out of 4 of those kids are nationally ranked, and they're also football players. So we want to access them on special teams, as you said. That's going to be real big for us, putting the ball in those kids' hands.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to. I mean, we'll be following the track season for sure. But yeah, that's Dwight Phillips. He ran the 10.26. He seems to be getting faster every single meet this season. You got Keywan Spencer, the sophomore,
Right.
a
Right.
10.68, and then Marcus Robinson. I mean, that is an incredible group right there.
Right, right. And all of them, two out those three play on both sides of the ball. So it's amazing to have that kind of speed. So it's just figuring out ways and creative ways to get each one of them the ball and opportunities to touch the ball. Like the White is ranked nationally. He has the #1 state in the time in the nation. So I'm looking forward to that guy playing a lot of different positions for us offensively. Just putting them in the slot, running back, just putting them all the way around the field. That way we can just find different various ways to get him the ball in his hand.
Yep, and so they're all underclassmen also that have obviously made noise. I mean, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Pebblebrook, 2 years ago, they cracked the top 10 in 7A, made a ton of noise, beat Parkview in the first round. The talent's been there. They've been playing incredible. What about, is it Jairion Gillis?
Right.
Yeah, going into his sophomore year. I mean, he came out there as a freshman, so what's the underclassmen kind of group looking like? What have you noticed from them, their potential, and just their ability to get out there and participate in this season?
One thing that was so attractive about the job is that they have a lot of underclassmen. We don't have many seniors, and a lot of that talent we have is coming back for the next year or two. So that really drew me to the job. I mean, I feel like these guys, like you said, the year before they had a great season. They kind of had an underachieving year last year, but it's just getting these guys in the system and believing in themselves. And I think the major thing is just we lost a lot of close games, and last year we lost to East Coweta by 3. We lost to Rome by 2. We lost to Saconet by 8. So it was several close games we lost that getting over that hump. And the main thing I see is just focusing on the detail. I think guys are in the right place. I think, it's good play calling, just little minor things like details and giving the guy structure. That's what's going to get you over that hump when it comes to those close games. So that's kind of the focus where we've been, getting grades cleaned up. Doing more fundamental teaching as opposed to the whole concept. Why do we do things? Not how we do them, but why we do them. Not necessarily in that format, but just like I said, the talent, the young talent is there. MJ Adams is a younger guy. We got Keywan Spencer. He just actually got Keon Spencer. He just got offered by Georgia Southern yesterday. So we it's a lot of good things going on at the Brook. And I think just bringing me in, I'm very keen and I'm ordering detailed, and that's what I really want to bring to Pebblebrook, just that detail piece of it. And I think that's going to take us over the hump because, as you said, the talent is there, man. We loaded.
Yeah, and is it Okiki, your big defensive end, defensive tackle? I saw he just
Yeah,
got offered by Southern
to
as well.
Yeah, and I actually got a call from Vanderbilt about him yesterday. Vanderbilt reached out about him, and I'm still learning how to say the name like you, so we call him Chuck.
Chuck.
Um, yeah, been working with him at the school, man. Chuck has a great frame. He's probably 6'4", 295, and I mean, he's put together, not an ounce of fat on him, and he gets off the ball. Just some things I noticed on film. We've had to get him his pad level a little bit lower. He plays well with his hands, but if we can get him playing low, he's going to be he's going to be a dominant player. He was somewhat dominant last year. I felt like he played a little high, just getting him down in the stands and getting him those extended arms. So those things we've been working on with him, hand placement, like I said, the fine details of the sport. So he's another major younger guy we got.
Yep. And so, what's the spring schedule going to be looking like? Obviously, the evaluation process will be huge. A lot of these guys are going to be in track and field, but what is the overall goal just to get out there and kind of evaluate this group?
Just to see where guys fit in the system. I feel like we got some tackles that need to go to guard that move a little faster, so we want to play them inside. Just seeing where guys fit. And as you said, we have a lot of two-way players, so seeing where guys can play it offensively and defensively and maximizing what we got, and that's speed. Putting these guys in places where they can be successful. That's the main thing, just finding places for kids. We got a lot of kids that played a lot of JV ball that'll be stepping into roles like Mike Son, our quarterback. So evaluating him, getting him to learn the new offensive system. So, with several new coaches coming in, the kids gonna be learning us, and we're gonna be learning them. So we really look forward to the spring to see where we at on both sides of the ball. I think defensively we're ahead. The kids will be in the same system they were last year defensively, and I know we're gonna play fast. But offensively, it's gonna be more seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, seeing where kids go. In spring, that's really going to be our focus in spring. I know we have the spring concludes with a game, but more of our focus is, preparing for fall and seeing us where to put guys at, where we're going to rotate and put guys at. That's our main focus of spring, and actually our spring format. We'll go May the 3rd and 4th. That's a Wednesday and Thursday. Then we'll come back the following week and go Monday through Thursday, May the 8th through the 11th, and we'll conclude the final week. We'll go Monday, Tuesday, May 15th, 16th, do some film, 17th. Practice 18th and 19th. We'll play Lithia Springs at 7:30 at Lithia Springs.
Okay, so that will ramp up in May. You mentioned quarterback. Yeah, Kamar Grant, he was a senior. He graduated. I know you guys are going to be looking for a replacement at tight end. Desmond Randolph last year, he scored some touchdowns. And then TJ Holmes, he was a big-time kick return threat, but you have plenty of guys that can definitely step up in that department. Who did you say the quarterback was?
It's going to be my son.
Okay, so this will be his first year starting.
Yes, so this was our JV quarterback last year, and this will be his first year starting. He did a great job at the quarterback last year, and he's going to take over the Rams this year. And he's ready. He's ready. He's a good runner. I'm teaching him reads. Now, just little things we need. That's my son Pickens. He'll be an upcoming 11th grader, so we have 2 years with him. But my son Pickens, he's actually been working with a quarterback coach. What's crazy is that I had a quarterback coach when I was at Hardaway, my first head coaching job, and to come to find out, this guy was doing personal training with my son, the same guy I had at Hardaway when he was a young coach in the game. So it transition worked out well. I'm gonna hire this guy as my quarterback coach. So it worked out well that my son was actually working with a guy that worked under me in the past. So looking forward to his development. My son does some things well, like he's a strong runner. So it's just teaching him reads and not putting a lot on his plate, breaking the game down to him and fitting the offense around what he does well. So my son Pickens will be good.
Yeah, and I've seen, I think Dwight Phillips, he's been on some 7-on-7 teams. I think he was with Sire Sardaway, the outstanding Douglas County quarterback. So, I mean, he's setting national records or national times. He's playing 7-on-7. How much time has Mason gotten so far, though, to work with all these receivers?
Well, right now it's track season, and track is taking precedence over football. But I love when your skilled cats are running track. I love DBs, receivers, any skill position running track. I really encourage that, and like my O&D line wrestling. So those skills are transitional to football. So I absolutely love that. They really haven't worked. They actually work on the weekend a little bit among themselves, and they work, after school some days among themselves. But the time and the rhythm will be there. We're just kind of walking through things on the board right now, implementing a new system offensively. So we're gonna have time for that. Have a whole summer to work with them. You can't teach speed, and those guys got speed. We're gonna find one thing we're gonna do, we're gonna find ways to get those guys the ball. And like I said, my sons, we're gonna do a lot of things that fits his strength, and we're gonna get Dwight the ball in space. Not only him, we're gonna get Keon the ball in space, Marcus Robinson the ball in space, all these track guys, and let them do what they do, out there in space. So my thing is, we have time for that. We have time. I want them to focus on their track season and winning a state title in the 4x1, and then football, in the spring we figure out details.
Yep, if I was a state record in that event, I would be I'd be ready for that group to
Yeah,
potentially challenge for it. I mean, it's been amazing
absolutely.
what they've been able to do this season. But yeah, I was just looking back at all the guys sent off to the next level last year. You had your Tyler Scotts, and then
Hmm.
it seems like a lot of these guys, whether they're just walking on, getting an opportunity at a D2 school or a D1, they're getting out there and they're playing pretty much immediately. I mean, there is something really special brewing at Pebblebrook. So, when did you say the timeline was on that big $44 million facility? I mean, how's that going?
Well, right now, the target date for completion is by the beginning of the school year. And actually, I heard some rumblings to say it would be June, but I'm thinking worst case scenario by the beginning of the school year. So, we're excited. Indoor track, a 18 rack weight room. We're very excited. Our administration has done a great job, pulling into the athletic program where we can be successful. But I tell people all the time, I say Pebblebrook's a gold mine. Like athletes, great community, great administration, great co-workers, great staff, custodians, maintenance from the top to the bottom. So I just felt like bringing what I brought to South Atlanta, being able to bring that focus on detail in a similar situation, just a bigger scale. That it was a great agreement, man. So that it's like I said, I don't do a bunch of talking. I rather let our actions, work for us. So it's gonna be a different team. You guys will see, and it's gonna be a team that's gonna play four quarters. They're gonna be in shape, and they're gonna fight every second of the whistle. And we're gonna instill that confidence in them. I think these boys, the only thing these boys need is the ability to believe in themselves. They have every intangible you need. So it's just the ability to know what this here. We can compete with anybody on this level because we have the talent, and we're gonna get them there. They're great kids. It's a great community, great atmosphere. Yes sir, great. No sir, great mannerisms with the kids, and it's just getting them over that hump, making them believe, hey man, we're a state title contender, and we will be.
Awesome. Well, Coach, thank you so much for coming on and filling us in. Obviously, a lot of excitement heading into this year. It's going to be a big one, a great opportunity. You guys are definitely on our radar. We are excited to watch you guys this year for sure.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yep, you bet. All right. So there goes Coach Woolridge. Well, how about that? They got a new quarterback stepping in. Uh, so much talent on the offensive and defensive line. They replaced Tyler Scott in the secondary. He's at Auburn now. Desmond Randolph, the tight end. But so many of these guys, as you mentioned, are versatile. They can play both sides. And not even that. It's like they're almost like the Caleb Downs that can play the return game, the secondary. They can take handoffs. They can play receiver. The athleticism is unbelievable. It's just getting this team together, maximizing all that talent, and then obviously the quarterback play with my son is going to be key. But he's stepping into that role, and as he said, another athlete that can make plays with his legs and get it done through the air. So we cannot wait to see what Pebblebrook's going to do this year. They were 4-7 last year. He mentioned all those close losses, the 2.1 to Rome, 3 points to East Coweta. You win a couple of those, you aren't going to Colquitt in the first round. So that's going to be the difference. But that's it for today. I'll be back on Friday. Najee will be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock, keeping it real with Najee Wilkins. Go to the Score Atlanta YouTube page. You got a ton of content there, short clips from yesterday's shows with the topics. You can check it all out. But we'll be back. Have a good one.